Master Fluder has been developing the Empire of Bararuth for nearly 2 centuries, and today we will be talking about his history, his potential, and his flaws. The Master Wizard, known now as the Tri-Wizard, had started his journey when a mage had visited his village. The mage had left a massive impact of joy from being an apprentice to the wizard, one of which he had hoped his disciples would also have. This joy though has a sadder side to it also. Having visited the 13 heroes, in order to obtain an artifact, and become a greater wizard. He was disappointed at the fact that he was denied this opportunity, and had used this to inspire him to achieve great heights, without such tools. One of the greatest mistakes I believe the slain theocracy had ever made, was to not share magical knowledge with the master mage. The mage had in his years achieved the 6th tier in the arcane spectrum, and thus would be the reason why he would not achieve the potential I believe he could have attained without Inz'Algal. As the study of holy magic would natural aid in the development of over magic, which I believe had it been his main field of research of the 3, over the arcane, he would be able to use this alone, to achieve not only 7th tier proficiency, but 1 tier higher in the proficiency of the other 2 elements. From this alone, we would know for certain, his ritual for immortality would have been far more viable than before, as over magic would have aided him in this task, but to our knowledge of the communal rituals, it is most feasible that he could in conjunction with others, reach the 8th tier school of magic, in a massive ritual, without the need of using a crown of wisdom. This is where I believe the slain theocracy had missed out the most, with the Master Wizard. Had he been allowed into the slain theocracy, rituals that had wasted the people gifted as Miko princesses, could have been spared their horrid tasks of being ritual sacrifices. Furthermore, though the Miko princesses would not have been able to reach the ability of the Master Wizard, it is feasible they could with their over magic cast the spell of immortality on the faulty level as we now know. Though even with the faulty version of the Master spell, one could interject that they would live for hundreds of years as the wizard has now. I could go on further on the Miko princesses, I will save this subject for another time. Now the Master Wizard had served and progressed the Empire of Bararuth for 6 generations of emperors. His service has ensured to protect the Empire from nation-level threats, and begin his school of Fluder Academy. From my observation of him, I believe it shows that his rejections from the 13 heroes, and the slain theocracy, has, although, been the reason why he had created the Magical Academy, has also been the reason why its progress was so slow. His greatest flaw was having a hard time connecting, being limited mainly to the master-apprentice relationship. It is not until we have turned towards the very end of his life, where in fact we started the story. Master Fluder had 2 people he had held dear to his heart. The Emperor, and Archie. I believe he had connected with the 2, like he had never had before, because their potential was on par with his own. But even so, he had a hard time handling Archie's rejection of the Magical Academy, failing to see the struggle his apprentice, he believed could surpass him, was going through. There are 2 possible outcomes, had Inz'Algal not come would have happened. The first, being he had found Archie, and aided her to develop her ability enough to where he could leave his hopes and dreams to her, or something far worse which would align more with what we are seeing in Inz'Algal's saga, and that is him becoming a Elder Lich. As we know that if a mage, or perhaps any human who had great regret, had a possibility of spawning as a Elder Lich. This is why I believe in the time we see him, was so vital. As we know, that it is said he calculated he would not live long enough to accomplish what he had wanted, and had resigned himself to become a historian of magic, and yet we see him abandon everything and abandon the Emperor, as to get a chance at attain his life's goal. This without a doubt signifies the vast turmoil he was facing with the end of his life, and had Inz not come. The potential of him becoming a Elder Lich, upon his death, was very very high. Thus that is my view of the Master Wizard. His history, his potential, and his flaws. On my favorite wizard of the Overlord saga.